Hey guys, today we're going to go over how I filled 150 drywall patches in one house because we had to redo the insulation. So we had to drill all these 4-inch holes everywhere, and I was left with a mess to clean up, and this is how I did it. Fill it up. That's more than enough. Guys, I want to do one more quick video. We're talking about the holes that we had to drill for all the insulation. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with insulation, this is a much older house. I think this was built in 1945 or 7 or something. And so I had to drill in between each of the studs on the wall. These just happened to fall real close to each other because of where the stud was because of this window. So where this hole is, it represents one wall cavity going all the way down to the floor. Same thing here, and then of course under the windows are going to be separated, and then across to every single stud. So each one of these represents a different cavity. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to show you the different steps that I use on this hole, and then we'll show this hole, and then I'll show you what we do with the foaming, and then we'll go through with the glaze coat, and we'll kind of put it all together and see how much time I'm actually taking on each hole. I don't think it's going to be very long, like maybe less than 3 or 4 minutes per hole of me actual work time, but then when it's drying, I'm doing something else. We'll see how it goes, and we'll go step by step right now. Here's after I've taped it. You can see we did spray in cellulose insulation. Once we sprayed them all, I taped them, just like I showed you right there. After I taped them, I poke a little hole. I haven't done this one because it's in a cabinet. So you'll do is you'll heat up a nail or anything with a lighter and just cauterize, poke a hole. You don't want to cut a hole or else it'll just split open on you. So you want to poke a hole into it with a hot pin or whatever. And then once that's done, you'll go through and use this great stuff. And this is just for the gaps and cracks, so you don't want the one that will give a whole lot of pressure. That'll get you to that stage right here. Once that's done, then you can cut it off flush. You'll pull the tape back off, which is pretty easy to do. So you'll peel this tape back off, use this flush cut saw, and cut the foam flush. So it's actually less than flush. You want it to actually be inside a little bit. So you really want to press this saw. Even if you mar up the wall a bit, you're going to have to repaint anyway. It's not a big deal. So once that's done, you're going to come with this fast dry premium spackling. So you'll spackle it, and I think I have a pretty good video of showing one of the spackling. So you'll just get some, spackle it over, and then once you're done spackling, you're literally ready to do a very light sanding. That stuff sands incredibly easily. So very light sanding, and then you're ready to paint. Finished product. This is only on the exterior walls, obviously, where the insulation would be. So this room had holes going everywhere across it. So as you can see, and under the windows, as you can see, you can hardly even tell. Alright guys, we're going to go step by step on the whole process. First step we did was to push back the insulation to make sure we had a nice cavity for the foam to fill into. And then we're going to tape off everything, making sure we have at least a ½ inch of tape overlap on everything. Top, bottom, sides, and across the every seam on the tape you want to have a little bit of overlap because you don't want the foam to blow out everywhere. Alright, we are to our next step now. We're going to cauterize the hole in the top of the patch. So I have a Hercules hook and a lighter, and I'm just doing that because you can also use a match or whatever, but I had so many holes, this was just the easiest way. So we're going to poke a hole towards the top and just make sure that the hole is big enough for the tip of the great stuff to get in there, and which is, I'd say, a little bit smaller than a writing pen, and you can kind of see it there. And that's just about perfect. We're going to cauterize that hole because we don't want the tape to rip when the foam is pushing back out. So here we go. We're going to grate stuff it real quick. Hold the can upside down. Poke it in there and fill it in. Now the hardest part is to wait. We're in the top of a closet now just because this one was dry. This is the flush cutting. I have this Japanese pull saw from Harbor Freight, and it is great for this because it cuts so flush. And you can see I didn't do the greatest job there on the right side, but you can just knock that down with a piece of sandpaper. And our last step is to spackle. and we're just going to spackle it back and forth and let that dry, and we're going to sand and paint on this project. If you had texture to do, you'd have to texture after you sanded, but I didn't. This was just smooth drywall in this house, so it was pretty lucky for me to do that. That's probably the only break I got in this house, is I didn't have to deal with texture. But other than that, guys, the reason I did this is because I had literally 150 holes to do in this house, and I am not a drywall guy by any means, and this was the easiest way I came up with to patch it, make it look good, and move on, because this was a cheap rent house that I was just trying to make nice for the next renters coming in. All right, that's about it, guys. The only thing you missed is we sanded, we painted, and we got out of this house and put new renters in it, and we've had zero problems out of this whatsoever. If we had to do over again, I would definitely do the same process. And I hope this helps somebody out, especially if you're re-insulating a house. I know you have 1,000 holes to deal with, so this is a quick, easy way of fixing a lot of holes very quickly. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe.